Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of a new mini-series that I'm going to be calling Invaders Under the Hood, where we take a look at a bunch of the builds that I've been using over the past year or so, and we have a little bit more of an in-depth look into why I think they work and how they can work for you, and little tips and tricks that I think that will help you with your invasions in Dark Souls 3. So I'm not going to spend too long waffling on whilst nothing is happening. We'll get straight onto the clips, but first off I just want to show you the stats that I'm running. This is a soul level 30 build, heavy on vitality and heavy on poise. This is a poise stat build. So we got, with the prisoner's chain, we've got 27 vigor, base attunement, 19 endurance, 25 vitality, 16 strength, 12 dexterity, and base intelligence, faith and luck. I will go through the rest of the ins and outs with this build with you as we go. So I hope you enjoy the invasions, and I hope we all have a good time learning stuff. So, as I said earlier, the main basis of this build is a vitality poise stack build. That's its main gimmick. However, the way I designed the build to be and how it's turned out to be over the months is to be a lot more versatile than simply a one-trick pony poise build. That's what I originally had, and it worked for many situations. However, as with invasions, you always have to adapt to the situation you're in, and simply trying to tank hits against people who aren't willing to do that can be tricky. So I've adapted and morphed the build into what you see today. So the trifecta that I have for this build, the main three weapons I'll be using: the bastard sword for poise and the main damage dealer, the hand axe for roll catching and timing throw-offs against reactive players, and the caestus for parries, and you can use it for mix-ups as well, but it's mostly just for parries. So, like the bastard sword is the main damage dealer and the main bread and butter of this build. It's heavy infused, and the poise that I've stacked at the moment, you can see there, it allows me to start punching above my weight class with regards to trading. So normally, if you were two-handing a greatsword and you had just medium poise, say about 20 to 30-ish poise, you'll find you'll get stopped by other greatswords one-handed and by the halberds and glaives. So with the poise that I have at the moment, with the wolf ring on, the wolf ring is key to this build. You will end up with 49, knocking on 50 poise. This will allow you to indefinitely trade with one-handed greatswords, and you can trade once with two-handed greatswords, and you can also trade once with one-handed ultra greatswords. This is a great boon for the greatsword. With the greatswords, trading is one of the key advantages this weapon class has, and you need to be able to stack on the poise in order to really see the usefulness of that greatsword come to fruition, basically. So without the wolf, I'm getting a 44.87. With the wolf, I'm getting 49.83. Taking into account what weapons your opponent are using means that you can always drop the wolf ring for other things, because if I was facing like katanas or straight swords or curved swords and stuff, there is absolutely no need for that wolf ring, and I can swap that up to Chloranthi or Hornet or Night Slayer ring, whatever springs to mind. So the damage, this isn't a super optimized damage output build, otherwise I'd be using like a buff Dragon Slayer or something, but because I wanted a cheap poisey weapon, the bastard sword is a very good choice. It has lower stat investment than the claymore, not as much reach. I would say the versatile is just as versatile. Now that I've used this sword for a long time, I found the moveset perfectly serviceable. You miss the pokes. You don't have the pokes that the claymore does. However, the one-handed R2 has plenty of reach, and it's a overhead slam down attack, as you just saw. Great for baits, and it's quite good at a roll catch for people who are trying to reaction roll, predictive roll you. People who are panic rolling, you'll be able to catch easy enough, but people who are anticipating another R1 get caught off with the overhead R2 for the one-handed bastard sword. It's great. Two-handed R2, I could take it or leave it. It can sometimes be good as a roll catch if they're rolling towards you, but you can't rely on that. So the damage, I've got this heavy infused. I have 16 strength, so heavy infused is quite a good way to go, because most of the time you'll be two-handing this greatsword. If you wanted to purely one-hand, you would want to go raw. Raw would get better investments if you were just simply one-handing it. However, because two-handing is, you know, something you're going to be doing quite a lot with this build, heavy infusion is the way to go. You'll get the better damage out of it. So one-handing, you'll be getting 223 AR. Two-handing, you'll get 246. You know, for this level, that's pretty decent for solo level 30. That's a decent amount of damage. However, if you really want to start doing good wholesome damage, you'll want to stick buffs on it. You see me constantly ripping bundles throughout all these fights. This is a prime example. Do not just fucking go into the slow-moving swamp whilst the password summons around, slinging lightning arrows and fucking sunlight spears around. Do not do this. And this is sort of one of the... You'll see later in the video, so we'll talk about the auxiliary weapons I've added to this build. Obviously, like I said, this is the bread and butter of the build, these 3 weapons. However, I have put extra weapons in the build in order to deal with very specific situations. And that's a prime example of where one of my auxiliary weapons will have come in handy, rather than faffing around, you know, fat rolling in the swamp and stuff. So gold pine bundles are the way to go for supplementing your damage with this build. So when you're two-handing and you rip a gold pine bundle, your AR will jump up to 366, which is pretty immense, and you can do some surprising damage to players with that. Obviously, you're going to have to use your gold pine bundles sparingly. You only have 20 of them. They're pretty fucking expensive. But the damage you get, the damage output you get is immense, and you could always go back to the gold pine resins. They do less damage, the resins, over the bundles, but obviously they last a lot longer, as you guys will know. So always keep a healthy dose of bundles and resins on you. If you run out of gold pine, you can go to charcoal. I think it's a sort of a 20 AR difference. So you'll be like 246 instead of 266, but that's still a decent bump in your AR. And when you're fighting multiple opponents, you're going to be wanting to do as much damage as possible, because a lot of people would just do a health stack build, and they'll just pump all their health into vigor, and you know, they'll have that soft cap by the time they reach 30, which can be a bit daunting if you're going to have to whittle through all that fucking health pool with such a sort of pea shooter weapon. So yeah, knowing what weapons your opponent has, and knowing what you can punch, what weight you can punch above, is vital with making this build work. When I first made this build, it was sort of an experiment with me sort of trying to do invasions at low levels, and I tried to do a low level Poise guy, and she ended up having about 32 poise or something. And that was all I could squeeze out of it with the rings that I had available to me. And I found that I was running into roadblocks with glaives and halberds and one-handed greatswords, which are weapon classes you see quite frequently at this level. Lots of people using the claymore. You see red-hilted halberds, and you know, occasionally black knight glaives and things like that, all over the shop at these low levels. So that was the sticking point. That sort of it inspired me to want to go further and see how far I could push this build. So the rings that you always need on, are prisoners. Obviously, that is, you need that ring on basically until you reach soul level 140, in my opinion. I've got Ring of Favour +3. I've simply for the slight HP and vitality boost that gives, and Havel's Ring +3. This just allows me to stack on all the armour. I'm wearing the XR mask, Gundir's chest, Gundir's arms, and I think that's the XR legs I've got, and that's the most optimised I can get the armour. If you wanted to stack more poise, I think the next breakpoint is like 52, and that will allow you to like indefinitely swing through other two-handed greatswords, which would be fucking nice. So you could drop, I've got a bunch of auxiliary weapons attached to this character, so you could drop everything, just have the two-handed greatsword and just stack on that little bit of extra poise. But I found the benefits from having these extra weapons and bits of equipment added far outweighs my desire to just have that extra little bit of poise, because other two-handed greatswords, there are other ways of dealing with that, you know, without having to resort to trading. which is a very bull in a china shop way of dealing with it. I mean, that, like I said, that's the gimmick of the build, is you trade with people. But there's only so far you want to take that before you just get into ridiculous proportions. And if you've just got a greatsword, you're going to find it very difficult to do like chase downs and mix ups and things. And people who know what they're doing, you're never going to chase someone down with a fucking greatsword. So you need to resort to other tactics and stuff. Well, I suppose you could just change your weapon on the fly, but sometimes action happens so quickly, it's very difficult to get into your menu to actually do the swaps you need in order to service the situation you're in. So having the weapons available to you with the soft swap is obviously more advantageous. So yeah, you've seen in these clips now sort of how well this combination of weapons work in tandem together. I've been favouring the one-handed moveset of the Bastard Sword quite a lot more recently, but mostly because I've been practicing my parries, so take that with a pinch of salt. The two-handed moveset is where it's at, basically. Forcing the trades is what brings the big damage in. But also sort of the I've sung the praises of the hand axe before, and originally I didn't have the hand axe on the build, but it's a roll catch machine, this thing. I just don't know how you would want to play without it, given sort of if this is Roll Souls 3 and every man and his dog smashes that fucking circle button like it's fucking going out of fashion. The hand axe just shuts that fucking shit right down. It shuts panic rolls down. And it's so good. If you're good at predicting rolls and things, if they're reaction, it's even difficult to sort of reaction roll. It's such a quick weapon, especially in the left hand. It's such a quick weapon, so it's difficult for people to reaction roll it. It's raw infused, which is what's giving me the best damage at the moment because it's only one-handed. But yeah, it's a beast of a weapon, and it complements so nicely to the slow defensiveness of the greatsword. So I have something defensive and quite big damage in the right hand, and then in the left hand I've got an offensive sort of it is a beastly chase down weapon. If you can get alongside people, you can just constantly harass with the hand axe. You don't even fucking have to stop. It's such low stamina requirement. It's absolutely ballistic, and you've seen me people in the clips already where you just sort of if you get them down on low enough health, you guarantee that roll catch, and they will panic like fuck, and they won't know what to do about it. Almost no one uses the hand axe in the offhand. It's such a good offhand weapon. I've only got the cases on here, in all honesty, because I had a little bit of extra weight to spare, and because it only costs like 0.5 units. I thought, why the fuck not? Because I don't have a parry tool on this thing. I mean, using parries to do your damage, if that's what you enjoy, if that's the playstyle you enjoy, then that's fine. This is for you and stuff. You could probably sacrifice a bit more weight and get a parry shield. But anyway, okay. So one of my auxiliary weapons that I'm using is a fire-infused harp. Now, why am I using this? This is necessity for the environment I'm invading in. You always have to take into account the environment you're invading in, and you can change your playstyle and change your weapon loadout accordingly. Because I'm invading primarily in the Farron Swamp, the slow-moving sludge and goop often necessitates the use of quick step in order to chase people down and to maneuver quickly. So there are lots of daggers you can go with, and obviously if you were going for a critical fishing build, you'd want to put a deep or fire dagger on this level. But I chose the harp. I mean, I like parries and ripostes and stuff, but I'm not going for that big burst damage. I'm going for a sort of a war of attrition build. But I still needed a dagger or something to help me maneuver in the swamp. You can see there the pressure that the harp allows you to put onto players whilst they are stuck like fat rolling in the swamp. You can harass as they go through the swamp. It's fantastic. It doesn't do a lot of damage. It's a dagger. It's a pretty shitty dagger at that, but it allows you to keep harassment on, and that's key. Pressure in these kinds of situations is fucking key. So why did I pick the harp? So yes, it has quick step. That's basically all I wanted. But the harp has another unique property, that it does shield pierce damage, like the Manservant Hatchet, the Warpick, the Showtail, things like that. So it will chip through shields, and you should elemental infuse all of your chip weapons, like your man serpent hatchet, whatever. You know, elemental infuse them, whether it's fire or to deep, or depending on whatever elemental build you're running, infuse it to that, and that will up your chip damage significantly. Because everyone has 100% block shields, but there are almost no shields in the game which offer 100% block to any of the elemental damage. So I chose fire simply because I didn't have a deep gem. I would have picked deep otherwise, because I think most shields are weaker to dark than they are to fire. But fire is all I had, so that's what I went with. So yeah, it's not a weapon you need. You can't rely on that weapon to do big damage and stuff. It doesn't have. I don't think it has any critical modifiers or anything. So there's no point in really swapping to it to do your reposts and things. You can't, like I said, you can't rely on it to win yourself invasions. But in these situations where you're moving through these swamps, that's a really big advantage, because most people won't have the hindsight to bring those kinds of weapons into the swamp, because you can maneuver through it. You can force yourself to fat roll through it, and the poison damage in this game isn't going to be anything to be afraid of. But yeah, having that advantage of being able to put on pressure when they can't pressure you, because you have the maneuverability, is fantastic. And remember, you don't need the FP to get the quick step to work. You won't have any iframes, I don't think, or maybe you have very minimal iframes when you run out of FP. But look at that, he's running away, and you can just pressure. You just do nice little bits of chip damage, like over a short period of time. He can't do anything because the dagger moveset is really fucking quick. Even if he tries to turn and burn, most likely he's going to get interrupted by me. You just keep pace with him. He isn't going anywhere. Absolutely fantastic. I love this weapon. Highly recommend the Harpe. As with the daggers, you could poison infuse it, to be honest, and that will, be a good auxiliary to the environment, because most people are going to get fucking poisoned, and it will help the poison along. But I don't really see that as being a necessity. You see here, you see them sort of moving through the swamp and up onto this ledge, so you just quickly pop over to the Harpe. This is one of the weapons I have available to soft swap, because you need that in a pinch. You can use it to get away from people as well if people are chasing you. You just get into the swamp, you fucking get the Harpe out, and you just fucking zoom off into the fucking distance, and you can regroup and plan your next attack. That's fantastic for that. And you see, like, I'm not relying on the Harpe to do my damage. It's like I use it to maneuver through the swamp when when I need to go somewhere, and then when I'm out of the swamp, I'll just swap over to my bastard sword. See, and now the host has run into the swamp, aggroing all the grooves. So back to the Harpe, fucking pressure. He's not going anywhere. He's absolutely fucked. Yeah, and he's dead. GG. I don't know why I gave him the point down. I was feeling pretty vindictive that day. So another one of my favourite weapons for this build is the Warpick. Now, why do I like the Warpick? The Warpick has lots of really interesting properties going for it that really suit this build. One, it benefits from poise and hyper armor, and I'm a high poise build, so the hammer class weapons are fucking fantastic for trading with smaller weapons. So if someone is turtling, quite aggressively turtling, and they're turtling and then rolling away, you get hit on their shield and they roll away, or they get hit on the shield and they strafe you to go for a backstab. The Warpick is fantastic for that, because it has innate chip damage. I've infused it to dark, and you can see the amount of chip damage you can get, and that's just a regular night shield, so that's 70 points of chip damage from 201s. That's pretty fucking decent. So it's got innate chip damage, and with the deep infusion it has a little bit more. It's a roll catch machine. It pairs really nicely with the Night Slayer. I've said this before, but chip damage weapons pair really nicely with the Night Slayer ring, like insanely nicely. You see, just as a little aside, this build also allows the use of the Millwood bow. You have to swap out a ring to get the strength ring. So if you swap out Havel's onto the strength ring, you can keep your obscuring ring, and you can get the use of the Millwood bow, which can be fantastic. This little vantage point here is absolutely perfect for sniping hosts camping by the bonfire. I highly recommend it. So yeah, the Warpick. What was I saying about it? Yeah, it's a roll catch machine, much like the hand axe. It's got a fairly reliable 3-hit combo for people who are panic rolling. So you hit them once, twice, then they'll try and roll out, and the third hit will often get them because of the step forward that the hammer class weapons have. It doesn't do strike damage; it's all thrust damage. So if you wanted to, you could throw on the Leo ring and try and go for some nice counter damage. If you're trading with people, that would be quite good. I've never tried that myself. I don't know how much the damage would be. Probably not all that much to be worth it. But you know, who knows? So yeah, like I was saying, the Night Slayer ring really can do some fucking really do a number on these people, or do a number on turtles. And you'll see in a second. These guys are using Lothric Night Shield, so these are one of the better medium shields in the game. In fact, it's shortly behind the Black Knight Shield with regards to stability, and even unupgraded, it's fairly fearsome with regards to stability. So let's see, I've swapped over. I've got the Night Slayer ring. You can see these guys. I haven't attacked these guys. They haven't been sprinting around. They're at full stamina. 1, 2. Guard break. That is fucking amazing. You see just over 100 damage of chip as well. So obviously the Lothric Knight has slightly less dark defense than the Night Shield. That's excellent. You can crack open turtles like they're fucking eggshells. Excellent weapon. I mean, the damage isn't amazing because I've got it deep infused. I can't buff it or anything, so the damage I'm getting is not, you know. In fact, you can win invasions with it. Absolutely, you can win invasions with it, just with the Warpick. But you know, it's a good auxiliary weapon. It's good. It fits its purpose, and it does what I wanted to do, which is just crack open turtles. Love this weapon. Fantastic. I love anything that can roll catch, to be honest. Roll catching is one of my favourite things to do in this game. And the thing is, the fucking sword, the bastard sword, the hand axe, and the Warpick can do all that incredibly well. So the last one of my auxiliary weapons that I keep on this build. I also keep a straight sword in this build, but everyone fucking knows how good straight swords are, so we won't talk about the straight sword. But I keep a deep infused spear on this build. This is mostly for chase downs, in all honesty. 1v1s at this level, because of the low damage, it's a pretty bog standard spear moveset. The weapon art is pretty shite. It's not all that great for 1v1s, but for chase downs, for people who are constantly running away from you, and you can't keep up with them with the hand axe, the spear can come in clutch here. You see this guy, I did a bunch of damage to him when he was on that little ledge, and he just started to fucking run through the entire level. And the spear was great for catching that. It's difficult to roll catch people with this spear. You just have to hope that they're not paying attention and reaction rolling. But I mean, it's a spear, so spears are fairly decent weapons. Very good for baiting people into parries. Because you're keeping them at a distance, they'll want to try and space you out. So you can just fucking bait them with, do like a charged R2 or an R1, and you bait them in for a nice parry, which is what I found the most success with. Outside of chasing people down, that's the thing I found the most success with. You can see here, like you can reliably win fights one-on-one with a spear, but you don't want to go into a multi-man invasion with just a spear. That's a fucking death wish, because it lacks any AoE damage. You can't, you know, you hit multiple people with a spear because it's like a laser beam accuracy. It's fucking useless at low levels, in all honesty. Not at low levels. It's useless in multi-man invasions and stuff. But 1v1 spears can be quite fun to use. Moist berry. Yeah, I mean, I did kind of force myself to use. I wanted to get some footage of me using the spear for this episode, so I did go out of my way to use it a little more often than I would normally do it. Like I said, I just use it for chase downs, for people who, you see the fucking weapon art is shite on this, because you can't hold the weapon art. You could use it as a roll catch out stun, like if you get a parry and they're getting up, you could use it as a wake up. But because you can't hold it like an R2, look at that, and it's so, the hitbox on it is wank. It's a bit like charge on like the Astoras or something, where the hitbox can be so finagly and just sometimes it won't even register. It's almost a pointless weapon art. So anyway, thank you for watching episode 1 of Under the Hood with the Invaders. I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know if you'd like to see more, because I've got a lot of nice builds that I like to show off. Thanks everyone.